Hey guys, what's going on? URounder here. We're gonna go through a hand review session today. Let's just get started. So pretty much when I go through these, I just look and I predict what action I'm going to take, and then we go from there. So if I had called or something, I would be like, all right, that's an issue. I'd pop open the notes and we'd take a look. All right, so yeah, I expect to bet here. Here we're facing a raise on the flop and a 3-bet pot. We've got top pair, obviously. Yeah, it's a tough spot because we could be up against overcards, over pairs, things like that. But looks like I call. I don't hate this. I think a call on the turn is okay. And I think the river, the clubs get there. If we were beat, I think on the river we have to fold. I'm not even sure if I call or fold this. I do call, okay. So, obviously a rough river. But let's look at this line. So what is this line? This is a 3-bet pot. We have a raise, bet, bet. So very quickly, so just in the notes, I'm gonna kind of put on the river. We've got so these are sort of the data points. We've got a 3-bet pot, and the line is from his perspective, right? As the 3-bet caller. So he goes raise, bet, bet. Right, so 3-bet pot line. Of raise, bet, bet. Now, this line probably doesn't happen that often, but let's look at something. All right, so I brought in hand to note with my ignition database, and I went into call pre-flop raise raise. So this is pretty much when you call a 3-bet pre-flop, which is putting ourselves in our opponent's shoes. So he was the imposition caller and he called a raise and then went raise bet bet. So first of all, versus the c-bet, the range that raises is fairly distributed, although weighted towards value, weighted towards overpairs, top pair, things like that in a 3-bet pot. So already he's weighted towards value when he re-raises, but we've got top pair, top kicker, so not world ending as far as our decision to call the raise. Now, once he barrels the turn, when we have raise and then bet, and here's another interesting thing. We don't have a large sample here. Only 11 times has it gone, if we gotten raised and then somebody barrels the turn. So, well, not even us. This is just times that it's been seen. So, kind of tells you how infrequently 3-bet pots are A, occurring, and then B, getting raised and getting to the turn, which is why there's no raise, bet, bet, which is the line we're in. But we can see that pretty much after the flop is raised in a 3-bet pot and then followed up on the turn, which happens 65% of the time. Also significant if you're calling light or calling with a draw. Like, keep in mind, you're going to face a bet again frequently. Now we're heavily weighted towards value more than anything else. Like overpair and 2-pair plus. So we have top 2-pair, right? So I still don't necessarily think that calling is bad on the turn, right? Because we turn 2-pair. So now we're in that category of 2-pair plus. Now, something else I want to look at is if it was a check raise. So because we don't have a lot of statistics, I think it's worthwhile to look at what happens if somebody check raises and then bets. This would be if you were like the out of position 3-better versus the out of position 3-bet caller. So if you I guess raised from the small blind, if you 3-bet from the small blind and then, you know, check raise versus somebody, if you barrel the turn, now it's like crazy weighted towards all value. It's all top pair or better. And then some, you know, ace, king. So that's really important. Just like you can kind of interpolate those two and know that, you know, when somebody raises the flop and barrels a turn, it's like heavily weighted towards value. Which again, I still think it's okay for us to call because we beat enough of the value. Like he can have 6-7, 7-8, all that stuff on the turn that's going to bet for value. Now, when the club comes in on the river, now we leave this sort of thought process and we go into, you know, how often is he bluffing, right? And anybody can answer this question. This is a very, very easy question to answer. On 6, 7, 8 with 2 clubs, when a club comes in on the river and there's an ace on the turn, how often is this player bluffing? Never. Like, this is just never a bluff. Not only that, but the sizing is huge. He's betting an entire, you know, he's betting a full buy-in on the river. So how often is he bluffing? Never. And the first question we usually ask is, do we beat value hands? Again, 6, 7, 7, 8, 2 pair, don't bet here. Sets may, you know, probably bet, but might not, right? Like sets might not bet here. So when he bets, it is like sets plus. I don't think any 2 pair bets on this river. Maybe ace queen if he, you know, got there with the ace of clubs, queen of hearts or something, or, you know, ace of clubs, queen X. But yeah, that's it. So do we beat value hands? No. So if we don't beat value hands, we have to decide how often he's bluffing. And if he's never bluffing, then this is a very, very easy fold. So I'm actually like, what day was this and what time? So this was February 6th. Today's the 10th. This is a mistake I shouldn't be making anymore. This is after the coaching session I had with Nick. This is 12:30 p.m. So this is just some hand I played in the afternoon. Yeah. So I just took sort of a second to think about this hand and figure out maybe why I called here or what I was thinking. And I'm not sure. Where did... So, I mean, I marked this as tilt, as obviously a bad call and a bad hand. Because, like, this is just a lack of mental clarity. And, like, these are the hands I really need to figure out because this is a textbook, above the rim. Not like an easy fold, but a correct, like 100% I know that this is a correct fold. I looked up when I was going through this, I like looked up at the pot total because I was like, oh, like maybe I fold here and this is the lost pot. But no, I actually make this call, and this is like really, really brutal. So you kind of have to sit with this stuff. That's why I paused the videos to sit with this for a minute and figure out what was going on here. I don't remember at the time, but I was thinking about... I'm going to segue. These get a little bit messy, but I was thinking about tilt because I was listening to a podcast. This is a note I have on... I was listening to a Tim Ferriss podcast, one of the more recent ones, and he was talking to a guy who... Adam Robinson, who I guess pretty good chess player. Anyway, they were talking about rationalizing things that you want to do. So Tim was talking about a deal that he wanted to make, and his sorry about that hammer in the background, there's construction. His girlfriend at the time was like, well, do you even trust this guy? He had this big pros and cons list written out, and you know, all of a sudden he's like, no, not really. And she's like, well, then don't do the deal. And so what Adam went on to say was that, you know, that decisions weigh on the subconscious, like you have a choice. And he's like, because you want to do the deal, you look for ways to rationalize like what your subconscious is telling you. There's a reason that the decision's really hard. So I tried to put this in poker terms in my own mind and think like, all right, so like when I'm facing a tough river decision, like it's very clear that I'm like uncomfortable. And that uncomfortableness is probably my, subconscious telling me like, this doesn't usually go well. As much as you say like, oh, you've got, results bias, and it might be one of those things where, I want to call and my subconscious is telling me not to. And that's when you start to see somebody, or when I myself will start to go into be like, well, there was a bluff draw on the flop, so he could be betting a missed flush draw. He could be, king jack missed, and that had an open ender on the turn. And you start to like plug in these little bluff hands that he could have, and you're trying to rationalize away what your subconscious is telling you with that uncomfortable feeling. And so, an exercise that you can go through, I think it's called like the 5 whys or something. If you look it up, there's some Google stuff on it, but it's just I think it comes from like 6 Sigma, and it's pretty much like looking for reasons why things aren't working, or reasons why something's bothering you, or anyway, you'll get the idea. And so, I kind of went through like, why do I call when I shouldn't? And then, I said, I have a choice. Like, this isn't something I don't have to call. I don't have to, make this call. I have a choice whether to make it. So why am I making a call that, I know is wrong, right? That factually or data point wise is incorrect. And I realized it's because I want to, right? Like you don't start rationalizing what bluff somebody could have unless you want to call. Like when you're facing a tough river call, it's very rare. Like occasionally I'll be saying like I kind of want to fold, but I think I have to call, right? Like I've said that before too, and that's almost always better, right? Like that is such a different thing when you clearly like it's sort of this. It's the complete opposite. Like you have this this sort of feeling of wanting to fold, but your subconscious is telling you that you need to call. It's like the exact opposite, and that is like a much different feeling. It's hard to describe, and maybe I'm not doing a very good job of it. So I just wrote out, I was trying to think about this a little bit better, these 2 different things. So there's this one hand where I might say, I hate calling here, but it's definitely correct. And that is what I think is a combination of like my subconscious and my conscious like lining up and being like my subconscious isn't making me feel super like sick to my stomach about it or uncomfortable. It's just, this looks like, it's sort of like looking at the board, this doesn't look like a great spot to call, but I know it's correct and I can list the reasons logically, but also I'm not getting that like sick feeling of not wanting to take that action. So that compares to this idea of like, I should probably fold here, but don't want to. And it never sounds like that. I never say I should probably fold here, but don't want to when I'm playing, because that would sound stupid. What I say is, this is probably a fold. And then I kind of like shake my head back and forth and then like, click call. And there's no other, a lot of the times that's it. Or I might say like, this is probably a fold. I don't want to fold 2 pair, or like, I don't want to do this, or, I don't have a good reason. I don't have anything going. I just don't want to fold. And like, I realize that is a big part of why I'm making calls that I shouldn't sometimes, is I don't want to fold. And so that was sort of this question that I had to come up with, is like, well, why don't I want to fold? And so I'm still kind of working through it, but I'll share with you guys. You've probably been reading this because I've been talking a lot, but I realized that why am I not folding? Like, why am I calling? Like, because I want to, or because I don't want to fold. I don't know why it correct shouldn't. And then it's like, okay, so why do I want to call? It's like, I want to call, or maybe it's more important that I don't want to fold now that I think about it. I did this like an hour ago. Like, why do I want to call? Because when I fold, I lose the pot, right? So like, I'm not sure if that's the reason. Like, there could be some other things. Like, maybe I want to call because I'm curious and I want to see what the person has. Maybe I want to call because I love losing money and I know that calling will drive me to misery. I don't know. That would be some like deep-seated shit. But right, there's a reason I want to call. I said, well, I want to call because I know that folding loses the pot. That seems like a reasonable thing, although it could be, further down that maybe I actually want to call because I want to lose the pot and, something weird is happening. But let's just go with this for now. Like, because when I fold, I lose the pot. Well, that's true, right? Like, if you fold, you just lost that pot. In our case here, right? If we fold to this bet, we lose 125 BB pot. That's 100% true. We lose that pot if we fold. So, why do I associate with losing? Why do I associate folding with losing when some folds make more money than calling? Right, and that's an important thing. Is, am I associating like, I don't want to lose this pot. I don't want to fold because I don't want to give up this pot because I'm staring at 125 big blinds in the middle and I don't want to fold and now not have that pot and be left, struggling to win back the whatever 50 or 60 BBs that I already dumped into it that now I'll be behind in my session, right? You can see how it kind of snowballs in your mind. Like, all of that can happen very, very quickly in your brain. It takes a while to say, but it happens, almost instantly in your brain. So why do I associate folding with losing when some folds make more money than calling? It's because that's what physically happens in front of me, is that pot gets slid over to somebody else and I've lost it, and that's sort of a negative reaction. And then why am I concerned with this instance? And really, like, I guess it's why am I concerned with this instance when I know I make money from the fold long term. Again, this is sort of the same as this one, but like, we're kind of getting to the crux of the issue, which I know is not super insightful for anyone that's been playing poker for a while. But it's important for sort of figuring this stuff out to work through it, because when you're sitting there at the table and you get this uncomfortable feeling and you don't want to fold, but there's nothing immediately saying like, oh, this should be a call, like, then it is a fold. Both your subconscious is telling you it's a fold, and you don't have any good conscious rationale, whatever the word is, for making the call. So kind of digging down to why we're doing this is important. And then being able to, at the table, recognize that feeling of your subconscious conflicting with your wants, essentially. When you've got something telling you not to do what you want to do, which is click the call button. Why am I concerned with this instance when I know I make money from the fold long term? I don't know. Like, I haven't really gotten to that part. Like, I'm not sure why I'm having trouble with that, because I do know that, long term I make money, and maybe this is the sort of step where there's cognitive dissonance, right? Where there's this, I know exactly what the answer is, but consciously I'm not there, or subconsciously, whatever. So I'm going to kind of just sit and think on this for a bit. Why am I concerned with this instance when I make money from the fold long term? And it's probably something where I need to reassociate that fold with making money, where I need to maybe do something where I actually go through hands where I make big folds that I was behind, and I see that, look how much money I've made, 50 BBs, 70 BBs, another 50 BB. Like, if I look at like hands that I fold that, I was facing a 50, 60, 100 BB bet, and I make, the fold, like that's pretty easy to see that I'm actually making that money. I'm saving the money, making the money, whatever. So that might be something that I actually do is put in a filter and mark some hands, good folds to better, and make that a tag so that I can run through that every day and build that confidence, sort of reassociate that wiring in my brain to associate some of these folds with positive results, positive play, and making money. Anyway, I didn't want to dig into that too much. I was actually thinking about making a separate video on some mental game stuff, but we're through one hand and it's been 20 minutes, so let's keep going. So I've already marked this up, and we will go to hand number 2. I think I've got like 100 hands to review. Let's see here. This is fine. I don't know. I need to look at like in hand to note and see what a 4-bet BB versus small blind looks like. I think this is close, probably a fold. I mean, I get it in here. I think it's against queens or kings or something. Yeah. So this is. For now, I'm going to say let's be 3-bet folding 10s in general, right? Like, I think 10s are a 3-bet fold for now. I think even, I think jack small blind versus big blind would be okay, but I think small blind versus button, jacks would even be close here. But I've got a notepad on the other screen. Whoop, no, not over here. Not that note, a different note. That I want to look at button and blind pre-flop all-in ranges. I've got a little list of like stats, lines, things that I want to look up in hand to note that can help me play better. So that's one. So save. We'll mark this as just a pre-flop error for now and move on. I don't want to go crazy with it. I think. What do we have here? So calls 3-bet. Bet. We get a raise on the flop. So raises on the flop are strong, right? We know that. But we have an overpair here. We should probably range this guy a little bit. He's going to have sets if he calls with 5s to a 3-bet. A lot of players will in position. So he's got lots of sets, some 8-9, some queen jack, although not as much. And then some 7-8, and then like maybe an ace-10, but not too many of those. So not that much. This I don't like. I think we should just call here. Like now we're just pushing. Now we're just like getting it in against worse. Yeah, this looks like very tilty as well. I don't know what this is. Yeah, we get in against a set. This is like, I think I was like doing some like self-destructive stuff this day. This is like super tilty. Hopefully you guys see why. This is just upsetting. Is this that same day? What was going on that day? Yeah, this is the 6th. This is at 9 p.m. that same night. So I don't know what the hell I was doing, but so I guess we should just try to it's just a flop call, right? Like we just went over his range. He's got a few draws, a bunch of sets, and that's and then maybe some like backdoor bluffs or whatever. I mean, it's close on the flop, but it's a call. And then on the ace, when he like jams, we can fold. And then we save everything we put in above like the freaking 8 big blinds. So we save 122. Well, no. Whatever, we save 100 and why can't I do math? 104. 114 big blinds. So that hand is like 114 big blind of bad call. And then this hand is not as severe, but this is another 123. Maybe if this is the same day, maybe this is a little tilty too. This is the 8th. This is 2 days ago. I don't know what my state of mind was there. But we'll call this 123. Although it's not quite that because, you know, ace king, but just to get an idea. And then this one is definitely 101. So let's just count the 101, the 114, that's 215 big blinds right there. Yeah, I just checked, like this month I'm down 1 buy-in in equity, and those 2 errors would mean I'm up a buy-in in equity in just 2 hands. And that would, you know, fix the whole month. It's the 10th of the month, and 2 hands are, you know, changing 2 very easy, right, and like just strictly correct folds are the difference between me having a winning month and a losing month right now. Anyway, let's keep going. Mildly, actually, like depressing and frustrating, but we'll stay after it. This is fine. These are all lost hands, so don't be surprised when I lose all these. I could check raise or check call here. I don't think, I mean, the 2 queens aren't great, but one thing to note here, and this I know what's about to happen, now I remember this. So he calls and then donks. And so what we know about the donk line is it's fairly bluffy. Now we're gonna get, this is actually a pretty cool hand. So he barrels again, he pots it, and then he pots it again. And I literally at this point, I'm like, okay, well, this is a bluff line. I just need to call down. And I call, and he ends up having 10 queen. Okay, again, this is, in retrospect, this is a turn fold. So we lose an extra 90 BBs on this one. But I'm not as upset about this because this one helped me learn a valuable lesson. And that is the difference between what you can call with against this donk line and what you can't. The problem with this is that on the flop, he could be doing this with ace-6, he could be doing this with pocket 4s, he could be doing this with ace-9, whatever. He could be doing it with pretty much anything. So it's a pretty easy call, or even a raise would be okay. By the turn, he might still bet with 4s, but like he also now hit with all his aces. He still has all of his like queens in there that people do this with occasionally. And so now it's like, now I'm only beating a very small part of his range, right? Like even though I have a pair of 6s, if he's doing this with king 6, well, I guess we're chopping now, but that's, you know, you understand what I mean. Like we're so low in our range that this is no longer good. Now, if I had called with like ace-jack on the flop, which wouldn't be a great call, but if I had called with ace-jack, this would absolutely be a call now. Because he could be doing it with 6-7, right? He could be doing it with just a pair of 6s. He could be doing it with like 7s, 8s, 9s, whatever. Problem is, all those hands that he could be doing this with, I don't beat with my 6-7. If I had ace-jack, I would. If I had kings, if I had ace-jack, obviously if I had a queen, I think this would actually be a fine to call both streets. But because I'm so low in my range here, it's a fold. And I sort of made that realization after this hand, and it just took me a while to integrate. So that was like a good lesson learned. It still goes under a bad call. We don't need to review this anymore because I've already kind of thought it through. But yeah, so this was a good hand to learn from. All right. So yeah, we raise small blind, big blind. This is a check. Check raise is probably fine here. And small blind, big blind, like when you have the overpair, you pretty much are just going for value with like one pair. This queen on the river is kind of gross. It obviously connects with his calling range pretty well. I guess, I think I remember this hand too. These are all fairly recent. So we check raise, which means he has like a tighter range. We barrel the turn big, which tightens his range up even more. And now top pair, pairs on the board. This is probably a pretty good check fold because he's gonna love being able to check back a 10, an 8. Any of the hands that I think I might get value from here are going to check back. What I'm worried about is if this guy check called and then called a turn bet with like king jack, right? Which, yeah, that's like one hand that could maybe turn itself into a bluff, but the board just paired, so it makes it a little scarier to turn that hand like that into a bluff. And that's a very small part of his range compared to value hands that just improved. So I think this is a check fold on the river. It's hard to not be results oriented, but again, he called a raise and he called a turn barrel, and now top pair paired. So like I think everything was good. I had the right idea. Even if this was like a king, I think it's a good value bet on the river. But when it pairs top pair, maybe a king would be bad because now he has two pair. If we'd paired the 10, I think it would be a good bet. But this is pretty bad. So we'll call this forced aggression. And I think some of this is maybe just not wanting to deal with a check fold, right? Like there's some sort of adversity to check folding, especially when you have aces. You have a good hand and it didn't go well, and that can be frustrating. So he calls, we lose. So there's another 40 big blinds. You can see how these mistakes add up like real fast. This is fine. Actually, I don't think we need to. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. This is fine. I mean, yeah, this is close. Obviously, it's. I mean, nothing about this is screaming fold. I understand that I know I already lost the hand, but I'm not seeing a vicious mistake here. Yeah, there's a flush out there. Yes, we don't have like a great kicker to go with our ace. But I could imagine people, and this isn't the right way to do it, but there are a few worse, aces. He could have any of the smaller suited aces that don't make full houses. He could also turn a hand like queens into, like he could, try to do this with queens for some reason. But he has ace king or ace queen. Yeah, ace queen, ace king. So not a great, I'm not sure on this one. I mean, I guess queens are pretty happy to check back. Smaller aces are fairly happy to check back. Because the flush came in, he probably just doesn't have enough bluffs. This might be a pretty good fold. I'll tag this one for further review. This is fine. We're at 34 minutes. I'll pretty much do this for an hour. This is just how I review, so you're pretty much just watching the process and I'm talking out loud. This should be a fold. This is a cold 4-bet. Cold 4-bet does pretty well against jacks. I'm not sure what's going on here. This is a fold, so this is a pre-flop error. I know this. I mean, this is like a very standard fold, so I'm not sure what's... I'm going to mark that as possible tilt and a pre-flop error. I'm not sure. What am I? And now now it's like if you're going to call the flop, it's Now 10's got there. I actually do fold. Oh, okay, so I fold. Yeah, he had ace. So I obviously never saw this hand, right? Like this is the first time I'm actually seeing that he had aces here. So it's obviously good that I made this fold. This would be a horrible 100 BB, you know, down the tube, but whatever we put in. So we were at 150 BBs and we went down to 97. So I pretty much lost 50 big blinds for no reason there. Again, the cold 4-bet, just not light. So tilt, pre-flop error, we'll leave it at that. The flop, I mean, once you call pre-flop, you kind of have to call once on the flop, I guess. All right, min raise from the button. I mean, I think I know what happens here. This is annoying because I have the nut flush draw, so now I kind of have to call the turn. And he bets like small on the river. Do I fold to this? This would be a nice fold. Oh, good fold. Aces. Oh, okay. Ace queen. Still, I mean, obviously a good fold still, but and again, like notice the min raise here is like sometimes I would be worried that is aces. This happens to be ace queen this time. I'm glad I re-raised it, pumped it up. Yeah, maybe I can make it bigger because like a short stack min 3-betting is like pretty like fishy. So maybe I make this like 20 and just, you know, like it's kind of weird to look for ways to, again, and then I do my 1/3 c-bet. Maybe against a fish, I go bigger. I don't know. So what did he, so he had ace queen. Did he have the queen of clubs? No, so he just called with ace queen offsuit on the flop. He had not a gutter. He just had 2 naked overcards and a 3-bet pot and called the flop. So this is just a sort of anomaly hand. I make money here long run, right? Like if this guy's gonna call the flop and maybe potentially call a turn bet if this was worse, or imagine if he had hit the queen. Like if this ace was a queen, like now we're cooking with gravy. You know, now we're cooking with grease. So I'm not gonna worry about that one. There might be some small adjustments against a fish that I could make, but that's fairly minor at this point. This, let's see, cold 4-bet. I'm okay with that because, you know, this is a little bit lighter. Here, you know, I don't know. I think we just get it in. He has kings this time. I don't know if I have enough evidence to be folding ace-king. I know that it's close, and I know that we're not going to see as much stuff as we want to see here, especially when it's versus an MP player. Again, I can look at some pre-flop all-in ranges, which I have before. I mean, I guess the big problem is that, like, if you're folding in a, you know, this pot is, before he raises, it's like a 36 big blind pot. And now when he raises, I'm getting, you know, 1.5 to 1. I guess my odds aren't that great, but 1.5 to 1, and like a fair amount of this could be split equity with ace king. It's pretty tough. I mean, how do I do against kings? I don't even know. How does so funny, like I don't even actually know how ace king does against pocket kings. Is it like 60% or is it 80? No, I think it's like an 80%. 70. Okay, I was off. So I mean, I'm only 10% off on odds against his specific hand. So if he has I mean, yeah, if he has clear aces, ace, king, kings, and queens, okay, calculate, then we're getting the odds we need. Almost, we're not quite getting there. So if he only has those hands and he never shows up with a, like, I don't think he ever bluffs here. So it's like really, this is really close. I mean, if we add jacks in, We're still really close. So like maybe it's a fold. Because I don't think we can put 10s in. I don't think jacks belongs in there. Ace queen, definitely not. So I mean, if this is his range, and he never bluffs, which I think is not totally absurd. Yeah, you have to put like an ace-2 suited in there. Well, now we're ahead. Well, yeah, but an ace-2 suited for us to even get up to 42%. So this is a fold. I think we can fold here. I'll mark this for review just to make sure, but this is kind of good to know that even getting these kind of odds in a cold 4-bet pot, I think we can let go of ace-king. All right, so we should mark that a pre-flop error. Mark that as a question. Open-ender, we'll check raise, we'll lead turn, and whoop, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack. Wait, so we have a straight now? Looks good. Oh boy. I'm sure I call this. I'm not sure that I can fold. I understand, I'm sure I know what happens. Like I'm sure he shows up here with a flush. That part I understand, but there's lower straights. This one seems tough to fold. I get it. I do get it. The flush came in. But I think the presence of lower straights, 6, 7, 8. So what are the other straights? 5, 9. Not very many of those. 4, 5. I'm split equity with 9, 10. I'll mark it for review. I'll double check with Nick and see if he thinks we can actually find a fold here. But blind versus blind, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that that is a mistake. Oh, hopefully you guys can hear. I like leaned way back in my chair. We're 42 minutes. I'm gonna try to keep going for a little bit. I'd like to get faster at this process. This is fine. All right, let's fucking chill out. I think I jam here and just stack off against queens. Again, we can kind of play with the equity calculator. Launch equity calculator. Hold on, let me pause it. All right, again, just to give you an idea, I know this isn't perfect, but this is big blind versus small blind 5-bet. Okay, that's the range we've seen of hands. Here is big blind versus button. Okay. And then the one that just disappeared was small blind versus button. Okay. So even if we like sort of interpolate what this could be on a larger sample, I guess apparently my sample is not large enough. There's just not that much 5-betting, one. Okay. There's not a lot of 5-betting, even in a spot that you would kind of think theoretically should have a lot of 5-betting. If we plug in like the most forgiving range here, right, we'll go down to ace queen. We'll include a king queen, sure, and we'll go down to 6s, okay? I mean, we can't really, there's no reason to think that we can add anything else. So we'll go down to 6s, we'll add in a king queen, and okay, calculate. We're crushed. Like there's just no way to, this was a massive mistake, like a huge mistake. I didn't think it at the time. I was like, it's probably pretty close. It's not close. Well, hold on, sorry, wait a minute. Oh shit, you know what? I was like, okay, now I feel dumb. I'll leave that in. Okay, we're still crushed, but not, I was like, what the hell is going on here? This is terrible. I was doing some other ones where I had like 5%. I was like, what? This doesn't, I thought it was kind of crazy. So yeah, using the most forgiving range that is highly unlikely that, you know, we can expect this to get 5-bet. I mean, these are at least weighted down much lower than these. We can't really express that other than by like removing some of them, right? If we like remove like half of them, that's probably more realistic. And then like this king queen shit, we'll switch this to king queen suited so there's less combos, because this is only happening like one time out of, you know, however many times king queen's been in this spot. So we'll switch this to king queen suited so there's less combos. Yeah, we're like a 40% dog. And so if we go to the pre-flop, right, yeah, I mean, we're just like shipping. Now there is fold equity, like, right, the equity calculator is not, this is just when he actually calls. So I mean, how often is he 4-bet, right? How often is he 4-bet? 4-betting. Verse raise, 3-bet. So big blind. So what is he? He's the small blind. Where is small blind? That's weird. I don't see. Hold on a second. All right, I found this is the 4-bet small blind versus big blind. So we can see that players are calling pretty light. Now we know that we can actually see that they let's see, next villain actions. So they're folding 23% of the time when they are 5-bet. Okay, so we can plug that in. Let me see here. Oh, okay, so they're folding. So we know that how much equity do we have when called? We know the answer to that because it's on the equity calculator. So at most, again, this is being kind of forgiving. What the hell is the equity calculator? I'll pull that off. At most, we'll say 37.8%. This is a pretty cool little tool. It's Red Chip Poker has this like fold equity calculator. So we'll just say that I guess we can just use the pot is 29 and we have to call 11 and we are shoving 98. Okay. When called, we have 38% equity. We need villain to fold 37% of the time. Okay, so that's the break-even point. If the villain folds 37%, we can shove here. Again, with this range. Now, if we give them more equity, let me show you what happens if their equity goes up. If our equity goes down, we need them to fold more. So there's a couple ways we can do this. We can say, all right, next actions are fold. Let me see here. So this is for small blind versus big blind. So the next action is fold 17%. Call 75. Now, I want to make sure that I'm looking at this correctly, because I don't know where that just went, but essentially what we're saying is that the small blind is going to 4-bet this range, and then fold 17% of the time. Is that? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to pull this thing over here. All right, so this is all our stats. So the small blind versus a 3-bet, which we are 3-betting from the big blind. So the small blind open versus a 3-bet. He's going to 4-bet 10% with this range. This is the raising range on the left here. And then he's going to raise and then fold 17% of the time. Which I don't think is reflected here. It's showing the raises and the calls. But we don't have a very large sample here. You can see the sample is like 24. So again, it doesn't happen a lot. But this is what it happens with. They're not folding that often. I assume these are re-raises, not what he's folding with. And these just should be calls. So again, we can see that when called, best case likely is something like 40% equity. And again, we would need 43% equity to make this, break even. For us to get 43% equity, we need to go like ridiculous with the guys calling 5-bet range. Because there just aren't that many 4-bets in here. So he's going to fold out a lot of his crap, and then all this stuff's going in. Pretty much the top portion of his range. So I don't think we can get there. If you guys think I did something wrong or disagree, let me know. The other thing we can do, we just call in position with ace-queen. Anyway. So we'll mark that as pre-flop error. Wow, I'm surprised how many pre-flop errors I've had. Like, really kind of... Not impressive. We'll just make sure, but... we turn a gutter and we still have 2 overcards. So I think I might remember this. I know that this shouldn't technically really... I mean, it's a 3-bet pot. We didn't raise the flop, so like I don't hate barreling here. I think it's okay. I think we can barrel like half pot, like 20. We get called, and then I guess we give up. Yeah. This one I don't hate. I think we could maybe save a few blinds on the turn by just betting half pot. But I don't hate it. Move on. That's fine. Well, wait, hold on. I don't know. I think it's probably okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. What? Oh, okay. This guy's short. He pots it. We get it in. Do we get it in a behind or ahead here? Oh, he actually had ace king. I don't know. This just looks a little spazzy. I'm not sure. We've been going at this for like 15 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it a video. I'm actually gonna ask Nick about this one, throw it in the review bin, and I've been like, you guys have only seen the last hour, but I've been going through a bunch of stuff like since I got home at like 9 a.m. So I've been going for like 3 hours now, straight studying. So I'm gonna take a little break and then fire up a session and actually play some. So hopefully I can use some of this to play a little bit better at the tables. Obviously, keep in mind the pre-flop ranges are super tight. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to show you guys another cool little hand to note thing. You can do some neat stuff. So they didn't have these 2 stats, bet check bet and bet check bet in position and bet check bet out of position in the barreling lines. And one of the hot spots, or one of the sort of code red things that Nick has told me in my coaching sessions with him is that like the bet check bet line is like really under bluffed, and we can just pretty much fold to it. And I was curious about just looking at what the composition looked like, and where that came from and what we were looking at. And so you can actually hover over this and see. You can either hover over the stat and see like all this info. So this is a player raises, flop is, bet call, turn is check check, and river, this guy bets, and then we see what the range is that he's doing that with. Now, this happened 957 times in position, 494 out of position, and so we can kind of see what that looks like with bet sizings and all the other info. What we can see is that in position, bet check bet is a lot of, down here, we'll look at the diagram, right? It's a lot of 2 pair, top pair, and then some like missed trash, but definitely weighted towards value. So, 20, and so it's like 50% top pair plus. right? 20, 50, maybe 60. Like it's like 60%. So it's like 2/3 value, which is about right for a riverbed. It should be about 2/3 value. So the point is it's fairly balanced and fairly weighted towards value. It's also got some like weird middle pair in it, which is kind of interesting. So I would say that in general, you don't want to be bluff catching. You want to be like top pair, top kicker or better. Like if you've got top pair, top kicker, you know, and the board is depending on the board, obviously, but you are probably going to, you know, beat enough of the range. And then like 2 pair plus, again, depending on how scary the board is against bet, check, bet, you probably should be calling because you can beat some of the value. The point is that they're not bluffing frequently enough for you to be like bluff catching with like low pairs. Because if you bluff catch with a low pair, like you're just getting smoked by so much of their value range. Now, out of position, it's even worse, right? That's like the real, when a player's out of position as the pre-flop raiser and they go bet, check, bet. Now we're looking at like more like 70% value, right? So like there's just not that much. There's not very many bluffs in their range by the time they go bet, check, bet out of position. So I think those are interesting stats to look at. I actually built these. These weren't in the original layout. So if you guys have hand to note and you're curious about how I built these, you know, go ahead and ask me. But I wouldn't mind just like making a combined one, have a bigger sample size. The stuff I'm working on with freaking, I don't know why that just goes away sometimes. With night vision is some of this, like different lines, different player positions, and then what the pool is doing and what PO suggests. These PO suggested ranges aren't for this exact pool. They're just some estimates that somebody else had. So I've started plugging in some of that stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of good info in here. Over the next couple days, maybe later today, I'll make a video just doing a full review on range research and what I like about hand to note. But I've demoed it quite a bit already, so hopefully you guys are using my code and my link in the description of the videos to sign up. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this hand history review. Didn't get to too many hands, but maybe in the next one we'll just power through a whole bunch of hands. I'm a little bit worn out, so next time I'll fire up the video right away when I get started. I will see you guys later, and until next time, keep on grinding, keep on studying. This is URounder. See you later.